Hey there, CJ Math students. Welcome to homework number 99, area of composite figures. You watched the video, so you can go ahead and check off. Remember to answer all the questions on Edpuzzle and then look for your quizzes at the end of this video. So today we're going to talk about area of composite figures, and composite figures is just a fancy way for shapes that are kind of maybe a combination of rectangles and triangles, or trapezoids, semicircles and rectangles. So we can find the area of a composite figure by adding, you can cross that off right there, the area of each shape. So you want to decompose a shape, just like this one, into two shapes that you know. So if I draw a little dotted line across here, you'll notice that I have a rectangle and a triangle. The rectangle is easily 9 by 8, and then the triangle, well, if this is 9, this is also 9, and then you'll see that this is 12. So this part right here has to be 9, this part right here has to be 8 because it's 8 on the other side. So that means that the remaining part that goes all the way to the top, well, that's 4. So that means this height is 4. So now we just plug this stuff in. Recognize that shape 1 is a rectangle. That formula is areas equals base times height. And shape 2 is a triangle. That formula is areas equal to 1/2 base times height. So we'll just plug the numbers in now. So our area of the rectangle is 9 times 8. Our base and our height, so area is equal to 72. And our area of our triangle, notice I put the 4 next to the 1/2 because it's easier to take half of 4. So half of 4 is 2, and then 2 times 8 is 18. You can put that all in your calculator in one swoop too if you wanted to. So then the area of the composite figure is simply your area of 72 plus 18 combined, so that is 90 feet squared. So if you take a look at this shape over here to the right, again, you're just going to want to try and draw that line right across. And now hopefully you should see, okay, I got a rectangle, it's 15 by 9. I've got a triangle with a height of 5, and then it's also, if this is 15 down here, then its base up top is also 15. So blue is our bases and yellow are our heights. So let's plug this in. As we know, the formula for rectangle is just base times height, and the formula for a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So let's plug in our numbers. Rectangle, our base is 15, our height is 9, so just 15 times 9. And for our triangle, again, our base is 15, and our height is 5. So taking half of 15, no matter what you do, you're going to get a decimal on that one, so I didn't really change any of that around, but 15 times 9 gives you 135 for the rectangle, and 1/2 of 15 times 5 gives you 37.5 for the triangle. Again, you're going to want to add 135 plus 37.5 together, and that gives you your total area of this composite shape, or two shapes together, as 172.5 meters squared. So a composite figure can also include inscribed shapes. That means when you have a shape inside of another one, and they're often asking you to say, hey, find me the area of the shaded region. Well, when they ask you to find the area of the shaded region, really you won't be adding like we've been doing, you'll be subtracting instead. If I wanted the area of the shaded region, I'd find the area of the rectangle, I'd then find the area of the parallelogram, and then I would subtract whatever the area of the rectangle is minus the parallelogram. It's almost like taking scissors and cutting out a hole in the middle and getting rid of that area of the parallelogram. So let's try this out here. We've got a trapezoid and a rectangle. So we know we want to do the trapezoid area minus the rectangle area because we don't want to have any of this space in our shape anymore. And so the very first thing you do, no matter what, is write down your formula. So a trapezoid, if you remember, is 1/2 of height times base 1 plus base 2. And the rectangle's area is equal to base times height. Super easy for the rectangle. You've got 7 by 5. So area is equal to 7 times 5. For the trapezoid, you've got your height, your dotted line there of 8. So 1/2 of 8. And your bases of 15 and 10. 15 plus 10. All that's left is to do the math now. So area is equal to 1/2 of 8, which is 4 times 15 plus 10. And 4 times 15 plus 10 is really 4 times 25, which your area of a trapezoid is 100. And your area of a rectangle, 7 times 5 is 35. So you just want to do 100 minus 35, which gives you your answer of 65 inches squared. So this is an example of an inscribed shape where you wanted the area of just the shaded region without the shape inside of it. So for this next one, you want to find the area of the figure below, and you want to break this up probably into a whole bunch of different rectangles. So let me draw some lines here So we've got a rectangle. This one is, as you can see, 5 by 1.3. If it's 1.3 up top, this little section is 1.3 on the bottom. So area is equal to base times height, and area is equal to 1.3 times your height of 5. So area is equal to 6.5. And you'll notice that you actually have two of these, because this rectangle right here is the exact same as this rectangle right here. So just take this 6.5 and multiply it by 2. Do that again because you have two of the same rectangles. So really the area of both of those together would be 13. Right? Now your job is to find the area of that rectangle there. And it's kind of tricky because you may say, oh, that base is 6.8. It's not. It's only 4.2 because it gets cut off right at these points right here, where the new rectangle starts, right at those green points. So the area of that is going to be still base times height. The area is going to be your base of 4.2. And now your height, you have to look for the side here. Well, if this entire thing is 5 and this is 3, the whole side is 5, that means that this whole side has to add up to 5. So if I have 3 right here, what needs to be left over is 2, because 3 plus 2 is also 5, right? They have to be the same. So your height there is 2. So then 4.2 times 2 gives you an area of 8.4. And then so you're just going to add 13 plus 8.4 to get your answer of 21.4 centimeters squared. All right, let's go to the back. So in this first problem, I'm going to ask you to find the area of this figure below. I would recommend drawing maybe that line right there to help you say, hey, I've got two rectangles. You could also, if you want to draw it instead, you could draw a line right here and also say you've got two rectangles. You've got this big kind of yellow rectangle right there, and then you got this small green rectangle right there. So no matter what, it's going to be rectangle and rectangle. And no matter what, the formulas for both are going to be A equals base times height and A equals base times height. The yellow one should be pretty simple because you've got 4 up top. That means you should have 4 down here on the bottom, and you have 8 on the side. So that's area is equal to 4 times 8. The green one, a little trickier. You got 5 on the side. If I have 6 all the way across on the bottom, and that chunk is 4, then that means this leftover chunk is 2, because 4 plus 2 is 6, right? So area is equal to 2 times 5. So we've got 32 plus 10, and that gives us our answer of 42 centimeters squared, so C. Number 2 looks exactly like the same, but a very, very key difference is it says perimeter. Remember, perimeter is adding up all the sides. So you don't have to worry about this shape 1, shape 2 stuff. In fact, just get rid of shape 1. And you don't even have to name it shape 2. What you do need to do is make sure you add all sides. So if I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides that I need to add up, but you'll notice I only have 4 numbers. So I got to figure out the rest of these numbers. All right, so the easiest thing to do right off the bat is just to say, hey, perimeter is equal to 8 plus 10 plus 4 plus 14, and now I'm missing these 2 sides. So how do I figure these sides out? Well, just like I was doing in the other one, if I draw a straight line down here, that means that that is 10, so this section is 10. So what's left over if the whole section is 14? Well, 4. Okay, and then same thing here. If this whole section is 8, right here, then that means this whole section needs to be 8. And if that is 4 right there, what's left over here also needs to be 4, right? So I have essentially found the 2 missing sides of 4 and 4. So I add those 4 here. And then my perimeter, when I just add it up, ends up being exactly 44 centimeters. So remember, perimeter is the distance around a shape. Area is the space inside of a shape. Right? Number 3 I'm going to do, and then number 4 I'm going to ask you to do an ed puzzle, so pay very close attention. So we've got rectangle and triangle. Very first thing you want to do is write out the formulas, base times height, and area is equal to 1/2 base times height. Then you want to start seeing what information you have. So for the rectangle, you're good. You got your base of 16, you got your height of 4, you have all the information you need in order to find the area of that. For your triangle, it looks like you only have the height of 5, but again, remember, if this is 16 here, then this is 16 here, and that represents the entire base of that triangle. So you do have all the information that you need for the triangle. 1/2 of 16 times 5 works out nice that 16 is even because it's easy to take half an even number. For our rectangle, 16 times 4 gives us 64, and we'll be adding that to our area of our triangle, which half of 16 is 8, and then 8 times 5 is 40. So 64 plus 40 gives you your answer of 104 inches squared. Okay, so now I'd like you to do problem number 4. It's exactly like problem number 3, but with some different numbers. Please answer that in Edpuzzle. So you should have gotten A as your answer for 4, right? The base times height for the rectangle was 6 and 2. That gave you 12. Base and height for the triangle were 6 and 3. That's 18, but then take half of it, so that's 9, and 12 plus 9 is 21. The next two problems look complicated, but they actually are not. It says calculate the area of the shaded region. You do not need to subtract anything. You don't need to find the rectangle and then find the triangle and subtract those two. Here's why, because the triangle is shaded. Usually they would have the rectangle be shaded and say find the area of the rectangle without the triangle. But really you just need the area of the triangle here. So that's area is equal to 1/2 base times height. So area is equal to, here's our base right there of 12, 1/2 of 12. And now you're like, well, there's no dotted line, Mr. Mason, there's no height. Well, you have 6 as the rectangle, and look what happens if you bring this line right in here and draw it right there. It's also 6, so there's your height of 6. So half of 12 is 6, so 6 times 6 gives you your area of 36 centimeters squared, so D is your answer. Problem 6 is very much like problem number 5, so go ahead and do that now in Edpuzzle, please. So the area of that triangle had a base of 12, right, and a height of 4 on the outside, so 4 on the inside, so half of 12 is 6, and 6 times 4 is 24, so B should have been your answer. All right. So problem 7 and problem 8 are a little bit challenging. What I'd like you to do is try and kind of figure them out on your own. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give you some tough tasks here. But problem 7, you're dealing with a trapezoid and a rectangle. So you've got area is equal to 1/2 your height times base 1 plus base 2. I'll help you with your height here. If this is 8 right here, that means this needs to be 8. And if this whole thing is 14, that means this is 6. So your height is 6, and then your bases are 5 and 9. And then your rectangle formula, area is equal to base times height. That should be easy. You got a base of 9, height of 8. So tell me the area of that. And then for your next one, you've got a find the area of this with a rectangle. So area is equal to base height. You got 16 here, 7.5 here, so that means 7.5 here. So that's pretty easy, 16 times 7.5. But then you have a semicircle. And remember the area formula for a circle is area equals pi r squared. So a semicircle is just half of it, so then just divide that by 2. Now this is your diameter of 7.5. So your radius is going to be half of that, so it's 3.75, so that's what you'll use for R. You can round to the nearest tenth on that one, and again, add those two areas together. All right, once you're done with that, go to this quiz's code. Go ahead and do that twice. If you have questions, give me a call tonight.